things first. I'm Jenna Wolfe. That's the Hall of Famer Cris Carter. That is Nick Wright.
Good morning, everybody.
This is what I found out this morning.
Tell me.
He is so jealous of us. Like when we put the show together,
Yep.
he wanted to be on that side.
Yeah.
And then every time you and I are sitting over here talking or writing little notes and everything,
he doesn't like it.
he's so
America
jealous.
can't see what happens underneath this table, and they don't need to, but jealousy would be a fair
Hey,
response.
there's plenty of room here. We can do three on one side. It could be an
straight,
unprecedented situation.
We got a
talk to
big
Saints.
week this week.
Yeah.
We're going on the road for the first time Friday.
Yep.
We're going to
Columbus.
Michigan's rival, whatever school that is.
I don't know the name of the school, but it's good.
We got a lot to do.
One note for me. I toilet trained my 2.5-year-old this weekend, so no matter what happens over the course of the next 3 hours, it's going to be a great show.
She attempted to.
Yeah, no,
I think she failed.
She didn't know we were doing this. We failed. All right, let's start with some football in Foxborough. My producer, Brumley, made me say that. Get it? Because of how foggy it was? It was very foggy. Pats and Falcons, and really just Pats in this Super Bowl rematch. As the Patriots handed the Falcons their third straight loss, they won 23-7. Tom Brady was Tom Brady, throwing for nearly 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. Matt Ryan was, well, Matt Ryan, not in MVP caliber form, leading the Falcons to only 1 score. Both spoke after the game.
D kept making plays, and we kept going out there and chipping away, and we didn't score as many touchdowns as we like, but we scored enough, and it was a great team win.
We're not the team I think we're going to be yet. We got a long way to go, but we've got the right mindset, the right guys that I think are willing to work towards that. And that's what we've got to do at this point. When we get back to Atlanta, we've got to get back to work and try and be a better football team than we've been up until this point.
Well, that is quite the understatement if I ever heard one. CC, what was your biggest takeaway from this game?
It's going to go from that second interview with Matt Ryan. They need to get back to Atlanta, and somehow there needs to be some type of connection between Matty Ice, Matt Ryan, the current MVP, last season MVP of the NFL, and Steve Sarkisian, the offensive coordinator. Because with basically the same talent, there seems to be a lack of communication, a lack of continuity, a lack of confidence. Like, they scored a touchdown late in this game, but, I mean, this offense not only struggled in this game, but if you watched them in the previous 5 or 6 games that they've struggled. So I see that as the biggest problem out of this game, because if Atlanta's defense, based on what New England, 6 games of giving up 300-yard passers, I mean, and all of those people aren't accomplished throwing the football, you would think if we hold them to 23, if Dan Quinn comes in that game and says, if we hold them to 23, I think we got a pretty good chance to win.
Absolutely.
But no, not when your offense only scores 1 touchdown and late in the game. So there's no bigger takeaway from this game to me than Matty Ice, the current MVP of the NFL, and his lack of being able to follow up the 2007 season with a new offensive coordinator and relatively the same personnel and not have an explosive offense, not put fear into the defense like we saw.
Mind you, they've only scored 1 touchdown in 6 quarters of football. This Falcons team.
My biggest takeaway from this game, and that's a great note, Jenna, that how the offense has just fallen off. They were up 17-0 in their previous game against Miami, and since then, the 1 touchdown. But my biggest takeaway is this. Coaching matters so much in this league.
Yes.
What yesterday was, remember those old Tom?
I think it's the most underrated thing when you observe the NFL.
I am starting to come to your side of things because what we saw yesterday, the talent between these 2 teams is not that drastically different.
Right.
Neither one of these teams has a bunch of elite defensive players. They got a few guys they really like. With the Patriots, their highest paid defensive player didn't play, by the way. And on offense, both of these teams have one, no doubt, Hall of Fame caliber talent, and one in Tom Brady and one in Julio Jones. And then some other nice pieces. Gronk's a really nice piece, but Matt Ryan's a nice piece.
Yes.
But the difference yesterday was Bill Belichick baited the Atlanta Falcons into doing exactly what he wanted them to do. It was, you joke with me about when I bring up Madden, but it was honestly what you sometimes see people do in Madden. Like, I am so scared of you passing. I am going to make it so attractive for you to run. You feel like I've got to run. The Pats kept coming out in formations where it's like, man, I know we've called a passing play, But every bit of my football instinct says check to a run.
Yeah.
You only have 3 down linemen, check to a run. And the Patriots clearly believed we will let you get 4 or 5 yards a run as long as you're not killing us with big plays down the field.
Right.
You're not doing what the Falcons did last year. And then once we get to the red zone, and all of a sudden running is harder and the passing is harder because there's less ground to cover, we're going to beat you. The Falcons did exactly what the Patriots wanted them to do, and that's coaching, plain and simple.
You know, for 7 weeks we have sat here and we kept saying, and you led this, which is, which Matt Ryan is this? Which Falcons offense is this? Which Falcons team is this? Is this the team that made it to the Super Bowl, or is this the team that lost to the Super Bowl? And yesterday we had a good sense. You know, they're a decent team. You call them an average or above average team, maybe at best, going up against the Patriots, who are clearly not playing their best football. They look kind of mediocre. I mean, they just look like this is the team. Like, this is the team we're getting. Maybe they're not the team that made it to the Super Bowl last year.
Well, no, they're definitely not the team that made it to the Super Bowl. I mean, but their style. Their style has totally changed. Like, they don't have an MO right now. They're not a running team. They're not a throwing team. They can't be a defensive dominant team. They're an undersized defense that moves around the field very quick. But, you know, you have to realize, I mean, they have a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator. I'm satisfied with the defense because if the defense continues to play that way, but this defense was only supposed to be on the field with one of the top 5 offenses. And Matty Ryan was supposed to be one of the top 5 quarterbacks. He's not living up to that. So the only thing that has changed is the offensive coordinator. The terminology, even though they've said that they've kept the same system that Kyle Shanahan kept, the play calling, and earlier in the season he was on the sideline. The last couple games he's been up in the booth. So there's a disconnect there between their star player, their quarterback, and their offensive coordinator.
And I don't want to just put this on the offensive coordinator because the head coach coached like he was panicked. And the end of the first half was, I'm not going to call it coaching malpractice, but there would be a few, people would be looking into a few lawsuits. If people, at the end of the first half, you have held the Patriots to 10 points. Your defense has played well. Your offense has not got it going. And you have a 4th and medium, a 4th and 6 near midfield, around 2 minutes left. If you punt the ball away there, and I am Mr. Go for it on 4th down, but you got to know time score situation.
And who's on the other side?
Tom Brady. If you punt the ball away there, and your defense, which has played well, the one touchdown they gave up, on the same drive, they had an interception in the end zone that got waved off due to a roughing the passer penalty. You punt the ball, you go into half down 10-0, you can deal with that. Instead, you go for a very questionable 4th and medium, give Tom Brady a short field, and now it's 17-0 at halftime. Like, that is coaching like your...
I'm sorry, did you mention Atlanta was getting the ball back for the second half?
I didn't, but that's a key point. Right, that's an even better point, CC.
Yes.
You're getting the ball back down 10-0. You're fine. And you go for it in that spot. You give the Pats a short field where they're guaranteed to get at least 3. They ended up getting 7.
But also it goes to show, because typically when coaches do that, there's a theme through the week. We've seen it with Belichick when he was facing Peyton Manning. They're going to score a lot of points. Don't think we can stop them. What we're going to do as a team, we're going to take some more chances. We're going to go for it on 4th down more. We're also going to maybe throw in some trick plays and everything. But what Atlanta did was they told everyone, you know something, this is not a revenge game. This is just another game. But they went into the game like it was almost like they were trying to make up for the Super Bowl 25-point lead that they had that they end up losing.
Well, Cece, you mentioned when we were talking about this before the show, they went for 2 4th downs in the first half. The first one is part of the game plan. Like
Yes.
So what? Tell the audience what you told me. What Dan Quinn is saying through the week and why that first one makes sense in the first quarter.
You start off on Wednesday when they install. All right. Not only do they go over the personnel, but they go over. Listen, this is going to be our philosophy. All right. They've already lost a couple games. All right. I don't believe their defense is really good. Tom Brady's hard to stop as a quarterback. What we're going to do as a team, guys, we're going in there. We're not going to play scared. We're going to play aggressive. On 4th down situations, I want everyone to be ready because the special teams have to be ready. The defense have to be ready in case they stop them. but the special teams as far as the continuity going and off the field. But it lets the team know what's going to be the spirit of the team as we go to Foxborough this week. I thought that was the right attitude. But once you get into the game, Nick, you have to play the game out the way the game is played.
Which is why going for that first fourth down can make sense. It's the first quarter. You don't know that your defense is going to be stopping them. But at the end of the first half, just giving them free points, it makes no sense at all.
Cowboys in San Francisco to face the 49ers. Dallas just barely eking out the win, 40-10, I said sarcastically. Dak Prescott had 4 total touchdowns, including one to Dez Bryant. But the real star was Ezekiel Elliott, who had over 200 yards from scrimmage and 3 touchdowns. All right, Nick, let's start with you. Did the Cowboys actually prove anything, not just by the win, but by the win over the 49ers?
I am not going to be. Yes, they did. Let me answer the question. Yes, they proved something.
This is going to be interesting.
What I'm not going to be is so jaded that a 30-point road win in a game that we all said if they lost, their season was over, that we're just going to throw away because the opponent stinks. Yes, the opponent does stink. No objections there. But that opponent that stinks in its last 5 games, 3-point loss to Seattle, 2-point loss to the Rams, 3-point loss to Arizona, 3-point loss to Indy, 2-point loss at Washington. So while they haven't been winning, they haven't been getting blown out either. Like, this was the first time all year the Cowboys looked like the Cowboys from last season. Now, I understand that the opponent stunk and the Cowboys' backs were against the wall. But a 30-point road win in the NFL is impressive no matter whom you do it against. And so, yeah, I thought Zeke was awesome. I thought Dak was really good. Dez made a good play. The defense was good. This was just about a perfect game for the Cowboys.
It was a very good game for the Cowboys. They were coming off a bye week. They're very well rested. San Francisco is a team, they're probably going to lose 14 games. If they win 2 games this year, I'd be shocked. I'd really be shocked. Yes, they played earlier in the season. They played those games tough. John Lynch, the new general manager, Kyle Shanahan, the new coach, they're doing a good job. But they are also a team that has not won a game. So you are what your record is. Coming into this game, they were 0-6. Dallas, coming off of a bye. Also, San Francisco, what did they do? San Francisco early last week, they cut kind of their spiritual leader, Navarro Bowman, the inside linebacker, for no reason. I mean, he's been having a good season. They cut him so the first-round draft pick, Reuben Foster, could play more. But when you see things like this happen in the locker room, it can send messages to the younger players. Wow, why are they letting him go? Because his whole salary is guaranteed for the season. They could have kept him there.
Right.
They cut him. He ended up signing with Oakland and playing in the Oakland game. So this is a team that's not going anywhere. You're talking about a total rebuild. Played 11 rookies yesterday. So, yes, I give Dallas credit for winning, but they couldn't lose this game. But I mean, at 2-3, coming off of a bye, with Zeke getting ready to get suspended, yes, they had to play like this. So if there was something I was excited about, it would be one thing. It was the offensive line. I thought the offensive line, they played spectacular, which led to Zeke playing the type of football that we're used to seeing. But I can't. It's like giving me credit for coming to work on time. Well, you got a job. There's a time we start. So I don't like to give credit to people. This is what they should have done. This is where Dallas team should have been. Also, when you face an offense that's challenged like San Francisco, it's right in their wheelhouse. Their defense is not that good. All right,
but no team should win by 30 on the road. That's not the expectation.
If you put 11 rookies against New England, they're going to get destroyed. If you put 11 rookies against Kansas City, they're going to get destroyed.
Right, but the difference there, CC, is you believe New England and Kansas City are really good teams. You are skeptical on Dallas. You don't think Dallas is a really good team. And so the fact that you're now saying, yeah, I agree with you if you put them, but this, to me, that speaks to Dallas at full strength being a really good team.
They beat San Francisco. Now they're a really good team.
Well,
No. All
right, well, what if you break it down a little bit and talk about Ezekiel Elliott? Yes, the 49ers have their rush defense is ranked 29th in the league right now. And yes, they threw a bunch of rookies out there. But he still came together with everything else that's going on the team and put together quite an afternoon.
Yeah, well, he knows he's only got a few games left. I mean, besides the screen pass, what else did he do that we don't expect? I mean, their offensive line played great. The left side offensive line was dominant. They ran off the left side as much as they wanted to. But besides the screen pass, seriously, what am I giving him credit for?
I mean, the guy had 147 yards rushing.
That's what we
without
expect.
The screen pass.
That's what we expect.
Because the offensive line was blowing
because
him off the ball?
Zeke's a great player. What are we arguing about? Zeke's a great player. They beat a team with 11 rookies who hadn't won a game.
I think a lot of this.
Listen, I'm not on, I don't have to promote Dallas every subject, every show.
No, listen.
This is what it is.
But I think I'm glad we're getting to it. You think Dallas is wildly, I shouldn't say wildly. You think Dallas is a 9-10 win team at full strength, and once they lose Zeke, that becomes a 7-8 win team. You think Dallas is overrated and over-discussed. Is that fair?
Absolutely.
That's fair. And so I think that's coloring some of the commentary on what was their best game of the year. No matter the opponent, that was their best game of the year. Go ahead, Jen.
Nick, do you think the Cowboys team you saw yesterday is indicative of the team that we are going to see?
I thought it was the team. Now, I'm colored by the fact that I came into the year thinking this team was going to be really, really good. People take the fact that I picked the Giants to go to the Super Bowl out of that division to mean that I thought Dallas wasn't going to be good. That wasn't it at all. I thought both of these teams were going to be double-digit 11-12 win teams. I thought Dallas was going to be really good this year. So I'm probably colored in the other direction. What I did take away from this game, though, is we now have the first 6 games of the season done for Dallas. And, Jen, I know this is going to, push your buttons.
Here we go.
But, man, oh, man, they sure wish right now that Zeke had just taken those 6 games to start the year. They're 3-3 with him. They'd have been 3-3 without him. Right? The 3 wins they have were by such a large margin that they'd have won those games even with, I know Alfred Morris isn't Zeke Elliott, but they could have beaten San Francisco yesterday without Zeke. There are 2 other wins they could have won without Zeke, and now they're not going to have him for a critical part of their schedule.
Right, and I think that led to the workload that they decided to give to Zeke. He's coming off a week's rest. We might be missing him, all right? There's going to be a hearing this week where he could potentially be gone. The suspension could start this week. So, for me, this is what it is. When you play a bad football team and you win, I'm not supposed to be jumping up and down. If you're better than that football team, I'm not supposed to be jumping up and down. If you're coming off of a bye week, I'm not supposed to. Other people, that's you guys' job. I don't have pom-poms for Dallas.
But
I don't have, no, you'll pop a hammer.
Okay. Seems like every week we are doing a good Cam Newton story or a bad Cam Newton story. Get ready to go 0 for 1 here, Nick. Spoiler alert, this was a bad one. Cam had 3 turnovers. 3 turnovers in a 17-3 loss to the Chicago Bears, 2 of which directly resulted in Bears touchdowns. Cam, donning an outfit I didn't even know was an actual outfit, spoke about his performance after the game.
No excuse not to come in and find a way to win this football game. We squandered that opportunity, but I'm not feeling sorry for myself, nor am I expecting anybody else to. Life goes on, and we just got to get ready for our next opponent.
I want to ask you what's wrong with Cam Newton this season, but first I need to ask you, as a player, don't you think you lost a game like this, you played terribly? Is the first thing you're thinking about, how good can I possibly look for the postgame?
He doesn't have alternate outfits. We've talked about this. He needs to bring alternate outfits, a winning outfit and a losing outfit.
Because I don't know if that was either, but if you're an athlete and you're the star and the captain of this team, CC, you're going to walk out there looking like that after you lead this team to a really terrible loss?
Well, he doesn't have any other clothes. He's got 2. He can put on his game uniform. He can leave that on. Well, Jenna, this is what happens on Saturday.
Tell me.
You take off on a plane. All right? You have 1 outfit, all right? You get to the hotel in your city. You take the outfit off. You put your sweatsuit on, all right?
Yeah.
You wear your sweatsuit in the hotel. You eat, you go to meetings in the hotel. The next day, you get up, you put the same outfit on because you've only worn it really on the plane, wear it to the game, so that's your only outfit.
All right, but on the game, let's not talk about the outfits
Just take the hat and the glasses off.
Okay, that's fine. Outfit's done. On the game.
I wasn't surprised at all. He had a great game last week, all right? 2 weeks ago. And then he comes back. This is the inconsistent Cam that I've been trying to tell Nick about. So this is not my segment. Chris, what happened? This is what I'm used to seeing with Cam. Sometimes Cam plays down to the level of the team that he's playing with. All right? And that's what we saw here. You can blame, the tip pass. Yeah, that was the receiver's fault. But you know who could have tackled him? The quarterback 6'5", 255. Get him on the ground.
Hold up, but it's not like Cam.
Cam was jogging.
No.
Nick, you're going to defend it?
Cam was jogging. He could have easily cut the guy off and knocked the guy out of bounds.
See, he got to him. He missed the tackle. Maybe he was jogging on the.
He's 6'5", 255.
He missed
knocked him out of bounds,
Okay,
Nick.
of all the things.
Russell Wilson would have knocked him out. Aaron Rodgers would have knocked him out.
Doug Flutie would have knocked him out.
Stop. Don't bring him on the show.
It's not like
all those other guys can play.
It's not like he was lollygagging. He just missed the tackle. But on this one, Cam said something interesting in that press conference. Said, I'm not going to get too down on myself. That was the problem in the game. I watched this whole game. I might have bet this game. I also know that, when Cam plays bad, it's bad for him and it's bad for me. So I'm watching this game very closely. It was in New York City, it was one of the local games on broadcast television.
Unfortunately.
Cam, his entire demeanor, his entire body language, all of it, once those two plays went against him. Once Curtis Samuel doesn't catch the pitch, it's returned for a touchdown. And by the way, the pass to Kelvin Benjamin, it could have been a better pass. So it's not totally on Cam, but that could be a better pass. He's firing it in there from 6 yards away, which is one of the reasons it pops straight up in the air when it gets deflected. Cam seemed defeated. Listen, you're only down 14. You're down 14 to a team that threw the ball 7 times. You lost to a team that completed 4 passes. Cam wasn't the rah-rah, let's go get it, and it permeated the rest of the team. There's no excuses for Cam on this.
No, there's no excuses, but this didn't start on Sunday, Nick. You missed it. Last week, Cam, remember, he didn't show up to the press conferences for a couple days. Mm-hmm. Now, you have to make up your mind, because he does his interviews after the game. He looks like a wide receiver, but he's a franchise quarterback. A wide receiver, we don't have to come show up for the interviews. They're not expecting us to do that. But as the franchise quarterback, I keep telling you this. Cam, are you going to be the face of the franchise, or are you just going to be another skilled athlete? There's a difference in how you conduct yourself. There's a huge difference between the two. And sometimes Cam ain't made up his mind. When they lost in the Super Bowl, he didn't say, I'm the franchise quarterback. He sounded like some wide receiver, diva, complaining he didn't get the ball or something. That's what he sounds like, okay? So if you're going to be the leader of the team, you have to be consistent. If you're going to be the rah-rah guy, like for me, every day in the morning, I'm the rah-rah guy, right? And when I'm not doing that, you guys are like, what's going on with Cris? Something wrong with him. Cam, it's the same thing. My man Greg Jitters, what up, baby? What's happening? What's cracking? Purpose right here.
Greg,
You look
what
great,
is
bro.
up?
Good to see you, man.
Listen, it's always 2-on-1, so thank you for joining us. So at least I have a shot of it being 2-on-2. I really, really appreciate it on this show. How you been? Good?
I've been great.
Good.
I mean, you guys are great.
Well, thank you. Feel free to expand on that, but we'll do that, I guess, in a commercial break. Well, it's great to have you. All right, let's talk some football. Packers taking on the Saints at Lambeau yesterday. Brett Hundley in for Aaron Rodgers got the Packers off to a solid start, but he could not finish it off as the Saints won 26-17. One interesting development for the Packers, reports out that Aaron Rodgers could actually be throwing in as soon as 6 weeks. Greg, any way the Packers can stay afloat until Aaron Rodgers possibly comes back? Of course, that's all up in the air right now, but if he does.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a huge.
It's a big if. It's a very big
and a
if.
Possibly.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. It was a huge if. I didn't give it as much oomph as you did.
But, I mean, if we're talking about them staying afloat, I think they could stay afloat.
And what does a float look like?
I don't know what that looks like. Honestly, I don't. If it looks anything like yesterday, the one positive takeaway from yesterday was Aaron Jones. The Packers have a running game.
Yes.
Yep.
The last 2 weeks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Aaron Jones. You see Ty Montgomery being limited with his amount of carries out of the backfield. That means this young man is pretty good, is pretty special, can carry the load when it comes to running the ball. But in this big picture, that can't be my only takeaway. I can't have Jordy coming out of a game with 1 reception. Aaron Jones leading the team in receptions. That can't be the case. You saw yesterday, Brett Hundley, I don't think he played terrible, but he did not play good.
But did you see any room for improvement there? Did you see
absolutely.
in Hundley something that, oh, hey, look, if you simplify the offense a little bit, you work a couple things around, maybe this guy can get you at least to the playoffs?
When you have a guy come in and obviously you're being overshadowed by this aura and this guy looming over your shoulder and Aaron Rodgers, to where the expectation is already so high, there's definitely going to always be room for improvement. Always. And one thing I will say that I did love about what I saw out of Hundley yesterday, regardless of how he was performing, he looked like he was having a good time. He looked poised. He looked calm and collected. Now, that's promising. It may not seem like much, but he didn't get down on himself. He didn't appear to be frustrated. He appeared to just stay locked in and still didn't have a lot of success throwing the football, but he wasn't down on himself. He wasn't
down on himself. He maybe should have been down on himself.
No, you never get down on yourself.
Here's the thing. No, the Packers cannot stay afloat, because what we are about to see is the Green Bay Packers are the Indianapolis Colts. This is a bad roster that is masked by the best player in the league and one of the best players ever. Cris earlier said I throw around Hall of Fame too often. This one is not being thrown around too often. They lost a no-doubt first ballot Hall of Famer at the most important position in sports. Agreed. And now my opinion on that could be changed slightly as we see more of Aaron Jones, because maybe they do actually have a running back that we didn't know that they were going to have. But this defense is not very good. The wide receivers, aside from Jordy, I think are average players that have had above average stats. Right, and the system's Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yes.
And so what I think we're going to see is a team that, just like the Colts were able to stay afloat with Andrew Luck, the Packers were able to excel with Aaron Rodgers, not because the rosters are drastically different, because one quarterback's a good quarterback in Luck, and the other quarterback is an all-timer in Aaron Rodgers. I just don't see enough talent on that team, and especially within that division, Minnesota looking like the absolute cream of the crop in the division. No, I don't think they can stay afloat.
Minnesota, because of their defense, it's not good for Green Bay. So I didn't see anything promising. The guy's been there 3 years. The coach has spent a bunch of time on him. He knows the offense. If that's the volume of offense that they know through him in 3 years, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. He's not a rookie. He didn't just get there and get traded. He's not Jacoby Brissett, been in some other. No, he's been sitting in that locker room with that system, with those coaches. Now, going into the game, what I thought was promising was I knew that I would see him for several weeks. So I knew I didn't have to make an assessment after 1 week. But I knew this was a team. They don't have a bunch of playmakers. They don't have a great offensive line. If it was me, I'd go with Jones as the tailback. I'd move Montgomery back out the wide receiver, all right? I would put Devontae Adams, Montgomery, Cobb, and Jordy Nelson, and I would run a one-back set, and I would deal that way. I would open the field up to give the kid a chance and throw the ball all over, because they are not a team that can be physical. I think they could be aided by having Montgomery move back to wide receiver where his number would be appropriate. But I think that's the only way that they can survive. I don't think they will survive. And I had a broken collarbone. It happened to be my right one. I came back as a wide receiver and played in 5 weeks. I do not think Aaron Rodgers will be throwing a football and capable of playing an NFL game in 6 or 7 weeks.
Your point about Brett Hundley not being the new kid on the block, that he's been in that system for a couple years. Do you remember what Mike McCarthy said when asked about whether maybe they would even think about Colin Kaepernick? He said, we've got Brett Hundley. He's our guy. He knows the system. I know that he was trying to squash the conversation, but he had, what appeared to be full backing, full confidence, full excitement for this guy to come in to see what he can do. Not to mention the fact that, so their schedule, do you see their schedule in the next couple weeks? It's not a terrible schedule for the Packers. I mean, it's doable. You got the Lions, the Bears, the Ravens, and then the Steelers.
None of those games are doable if you don't have talent. None of those games
okay, but you have what you have right now.
All those. Go ahead.
Well, you're saying they don't have talent. I think they definitely have talent. But when you go from Aaron Rodgers to whoever's next, there's going to be a drop-off. That's why I think, and you talk about Mike McCarthy not having any consideration of going to get Colin Kaepernick, that is just flat out not how the Green Bay Packers do things. They work from in-house. I don't care if it's a coaching staff, a player personnel.
That's justified.
That's just how they do things. So that's not even an option.
Yeah, he shouldn't be thrust in the Colin Kaepernick conversation.
No.
Because that was not a landing spot.
Absolutely not.
And the way they run their offense, it doesn't fit Cap's style.
Absolutely not. And so for me, like you said, we don't have a large enough sample size as far as playing experience in the regular season. Yes, he performed great in the preseason. I couldn't care less about the preseason because you're not going against the top-tier defense.
Sure.
And I want to make this clear. I am not writing off the Packers because Hundley had a terrible game. I mean, he threw the ball 25 times, and they got 87 yards. That's really bad, right? But that's not why I'm writing them off. I'm writing them off because I wrote them off the moment Rodgers broke his collarbone. I've advocated for Cap to go to Jacksonville.
Doing it to save face?
No, listen. I've advocated for Cap to go to Jacksonville. I advocated for Tony Romo to go to Jacksonville, much to your chagrin. But the reason being, I believe that is a team that just needs average quarterback play because of the skill, the great defense, the skill around them, and that team could then be dangerous. This team needs great quarterback play. So even if Hundley bounces back and has a really good game, where it's like, oh, okay, this guy's one of the better backups in the league, unless Brett Hundley turns into one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the league, which he won't, the Packers, it's not like the Packers' margin of error with Rodgers was huge.
Right.
Like they weren't expected to be a 13-win team with Aaron.
Right. Let's go through their roster, okay? Because you and I are critical of the roster, all right? He thinks they have talent, all right? They got some NFL caliber players. outside of Aaron Rodgers, give me one Pro Bowler. One.
Jordy.
Can't Jordy
No,
Nelson?
he's not a Pro Bowler without.
Yeah.
I made the Pro Bowl 8 times with 5 different quarterbacks.
Without the help of Aaron Rodgers.
Hello.
I think Clay Matthews.
No. Hello. Okay.
Clay Matthews is the guy. One.
Out of the 53-man roster,
Maybe Mike Daniels.
You got one baller. 2. I give it to you.
Nick Perry's balling this year.
Okay, 3. He got a club on his
Keep going,
hand.
guys. We can get to 15. Keep going. Just throw names out there.
So this is when you talk about a roster and you say, wow, they might have 3 Pro Bowlers on their roster. It's not like they have one dominant unit. It's not the offensive line.
Yeah.
It's not their secondary. This is where you start to have the problems, and this is where you look at the front office and how they do business. This is the way you're going to do business? Okay, when you lose your one player, then your season's over with. And what they're trying to do from a PR standpoint, they're trying to get all the cheeseheads to rally around Brett.
He might be back, too.
He might be back. Get behind Brett. We back Brett, right? That's what they said.
The next Brett.
Hashtag we. The only thing him and Brett Favre have in common, for one, there's only 2 quarterbacks that ever played with that name in the NFL. They got that in common. Right. And they happen to wear that on their helmet.
Moving on to the NBA, the Warriors are 1-2 after losing to the Grizzlies on Saturday. With less than a minute to go, Steph Curry was ejected for throwing his mouthpiece towards an official, though he later said he was just tossing it on the ground out of frustration.
It's a lie.
Kevin Durant was also ejected after arguing the call. Both Steph and Steve Kerr spoke after the game.
That last play, I thought I got fouled, and my frustration boiled over. Did something stupid, deserved to get kicked out, and that's what happened. Obviously learn from it and try not to do it again.
I think he should be suspended 8, maybe 10 games for that. It was egregious. It was awful. It endangered thousands of people in the stands.
That might be a lot, but cracks in the armor a little bit here, Nick. What was your reaction to this?
My reaction to Steve Kerr's comments is Steve Kerr knows better. My reaction to Steph Curry's comments is, I do not believe you that you have learned from this. And my reaction to the incident is that the Warriors continue to be the most unlikable team in sports. On Kerr. Kerr played the same game when Draymond hit LeBron in the groin. When he was asked about it after the game, he was like, "Oh, I think it should be rescinded, I think they should rescind it rather than that they should suspend him." Kerr's joking, suspended 8, 10 games. This is worthy of a 5-game suspension. He took his mouthpiece out and threw it at the ref because he was mad about a call the ref did not make. Udonis Haslem.
And he's also a repeat offender.
Udonis Haslem once took his mouthpiece out, threw it on the ground. It bounced up near the ref, and he was suspended for one playoff game, okay? So Kerr joking like, oh, it endangered thousands of people. Kerr, you know better. It's not about how dangerous it was. You cannot throw projectiles at the officials. Pretty simple rule in sports. And as far as Steph saying, I'll learn from it. Hey, Steph, man, you got thrown out of an NBA Finals game for this same behavior. That one was at a fan, not at a official. But no, and why are the Warriors unlikable?
Because what you just saw right there. Explain what Durant did.
And of course, Durant. Cece, nothing is more perfect than Durant seeing Steph Curry getting thrown out and be like, oh, I got to do it too.
Oh.
I got to do it too. He's getting thrown out. I got to get thrown out.
Let me insert myself into the story.
And then, to wave he was not flipping off the fans. He was waving his ring finger. That's my ring finger. And he was pointing to the Memphis fans. Fans that have watched their team build the, I would say, typical way, and then always run up against roadblocks, be it the Spurs or the Thunder or the Warriors, waving your ring finger at them? What are you doing?
My problem with Steph is both times this occurred, the game was basically out of reach. And he's just crying and complaining, all right? I was watching the game. He was playing a heck of a game.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked like Steph. Now, I can understand whining calls and everything at the end. My favorite player, LeBron, no one whines more than him. But to reach in your mouth and throw your mouthpiece, for one, do you know how dirty a mouthpiece is?
How disgusting that is?
I mean, do you know? I mean, that right there, first of all, you can't throw anything at a ref. You can't do it multiple times. Steph Curry, you're too big for this.
Okay.
What sense does this make? What were you going to accomplish?
Give me just a slight taste of bigger picture. This is a little surprising early on in the season that they're even expressing a little bit of frustration.
Jenna,
I'm not that surprised.
Go ahead, CC.
Well, I'm not that surprised that they would be reacting this way. They don't expect to ever lose. Anytime they get down, they expect there's not going to be any challenge for them. No one is going to confront them. No one is going to play with them. No one is going to make it tough for them. So, yes, this is how they respond when they're pushed against the wall.
And I really hope you're not bothered by this, but I don't want to talk about the big picture right now. I want to talk about what happened. A face of the league, one of the only, 5 active players that have won MVP. That is a very important. He is one of, you could argue, the most important player in the league, certainly in the top 3. He has the best-selling jersey year after year.
Okay, let me pose, since you don't like that question, let me pose another question to you. What if this is LeBron, or what if this is Kevin Durant?
This is
big picture.
The idea of what LeBron would get if he acted the way the Warriors and Steph most notably act. Steph, for some reason, maybe because he's little, maybe because he's thin and unassuming, he gets to be this cuddly, lovable star, even though he's clearly the single most arrogant player in the league. Nobody else in the league celebrates shots before they go in the way he does. Nobody else does the things, pretends to be sleeping on the sidelines during an NBA Finals game. We disregard all of it. LeBron absolutely whines about calls. But what is the closest thing in LeBron's career, 15 years, we've seen to an on-court incident like this? Nothing. Thrown out of a game for throwing something at the ref? And this is part and parcel for the team. Steph Curry, arrogant, crybaby, throws tantrum. Kevin Durant, forget the front runner stuff, everything he put on the shoes, that's true. The off the court stuff this summer. Draymond being who he is. Zaza, one of the dirtiest players in the league. The Warriors deserve to be the most hated team in sports, and this guy is leading the way.
You just seem to. You gave me a whole case of why this is Steph, and it's terrible, and it's immature, and it's annoying. But maybe that's Steph. Maybe that's how he gets himself up. The same way you said, let Odell be Odell, and if they're all, he didn't get suspended.
But he projects himself as being totally different. Odell.
But so does Odell. I'm matured. I've done my thing. I don't want this to be an Odell conversation. I'm just saying it's okay to let someone else be someone else if they perform. If he's performing,
listen,
Go ahead.
But if you've been watching the NBA, this is not him. This is not part of his marketing. He can't become a tough guy or something. He's not no tough guy. He's not no gangster. And I love the fact
Why does that bother you so much?
No. Listen, I love the fact when he tries to throw the mouthpiece and one of his teammates is kind of holding back from the referee. It didn't take much to hold him back. You know, it's like, hold me back. I don't want to fight the guy. Like, man, get lost.
You could bring up the let Steph be Steph on the celebrations. Absolutely. Like, it might rub me.
Because you brought up a litany of things that
it might rub me the wrong way, but fine. Like, that gets his team going. It's how he gets into
that
rhythm.
doesn't bother me.
Fine, I know it doesn't. But this is, let me just make this clear. In Game 3 of the NBA season, we have what I am fully confident will be the most disrespectful, aggressive move made towards an official by any player all year. And it's made by the only unanimous MVP in league history. And his coach is laughing about it afterwards. This is a multi-game suspension for a guy that has to know better, a guy that has to understand you can't act like this. And Durant piggybacking on it by taunting the crowd. When Durant piggybacked on the team for the championship,
I just feel like I had the exact same conversation with you when we were talking football, and it was met with...
You're right. Odell did a lot of things to officials to get thrown out of games and get suspended. It's exactly the conversation.
I said slight of the suspension and the officials, a lot of the antics were 100 times more than this.
Aside from that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln? Aside from the suspension and the throwing it at the refs.
How many times has that happened?
That Steph been thrown out of game for throwing his mouthpiece? Twice. Once in the finals. How many times has it happened to every other active player in the league? Once, Udonis Haslem, and he's barely an active player. Like, we can't act like this is normal.
All right, the suspension is one thing, but the antics and all the other things that you colored in the lines with, I think were just part of
the Warriors.
Him being frustrated, maybe part of the Warriors, but it's okay with when other guys do it. It's just...
Go ahead, Steve.
It's just not him. It's not him. You can't hide behind, well, we're going to let certain guys be themselves. This is not Steph. Like, so, I mean, whoever you're going to be, just be authentic.
Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. For Cris Carter and Nick Wright, I'm Jenna Wolfe. So long, everybody.